That is the case where he is alleged to have struck Erica Patterson in the face with a closed fist after an argument, and then as she was walking away, intentionally ran her over with the same 2010 Ford Escape that he used in this attack. When the police went to his mother's home and found him there, he was in the Ford. As they approached, he got out and tried to run into the house. He ignored their commands to stop. He tried to flee and eventually was apprehended. He lied to them and said he was not driving the Ford SUV that day, even though there was evidence to the contrary.
Look at the demeanor that Darrell Brooks Jr. exhibited when he was reminded of what he did to Erica Patterson, the mother of his child. How's it going, everyone? You're watching Sight Sound Slavers on YouTube, sightsoundslavers.com. If at any point in time you like this video, smash that like button. Please go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell for notifications so you won't miss a single video, and it really, really helps the channel. And also, again, guys, please leave a comment down below. You know, he's looking up at the ceiling because he can't face reality. He cannot take accountability. He cannot show remorse. Doesn't dab his eyes, doesn't sink his head, looks up at the ceiling as if he's the victim because in his mind, he is the colossal victim. In his mind, there's two sides, and now he's going to get to tell his story, as he said when he did his opening arguments. And the reality of the matter is that a lot of people look at this, and they look at the fact that he was released on $1,000 bond, and they say, if the bond had been higher, the Waukesha tragedy, the Waukesha massacre never would have happened. But we don't know that definitively. We don't, because he used his car against Erica, and he may have done what he did in Waukesha at another time. Maybe not the Christmas parade. Maybe it would have been a New Year's parade. Maybe it would have been a St. Valentine's Day parade. Maybe it would have been something else. But the reality of the matter is there was something in there, in that mind of his, in that soul of his, if there is a soul, where something like this could have happened. And, you know, it's I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, you know, the $1,000 bond should have been that low, or that, you know, folks in Darrell's situation that are in and out of the system, getting plea deals, reduced sentences, suspended sentences, that are, you know, hit with a slap on the wrist, or they get a garbage bag and pick up some trash on the side of the road and then they're free. I mean, I'm not going to say that this system works, and I'm not going to say that the overworked prosecutors and the overworked judges should get a pass, but it's the same in every state. It's the same in every state. And the what if game doesn't really work, because what if this didn't happen and what if that didn't happen? It's not realistic. But a lot of people say, how was it that he was able to get out? Why was it that Dawn and other family members would always come to bail him out? I mean, you know, again, you can't blame Dawn, you can't blame the court, but I know we want to blame somebody, right? Because again, one of the most heinous crimes, and you're confronted with a defendant like Darrell Brooks Jr. that is recalcitrant, emotionless, spineless. I mean, he just, and not only that, but he, you know, he had to look up at the ceiling as if, you know, when is this going to end? When is my suffering going to end? And oftentimes people ask themselves, why is it that this trial is so addictive? Why is it that so many people can't stop watching? And I think it's because we're confronted with, you know, an individual that really honestly is just the lowest of the low. And even still, there are people out there that say, oh, you know, he didn't get a fair trial. The judge shouldn't have let him defend himself. I mean, almost like blaming the judge. You know, people give me grief because I give Judge Jorah 97%, which I think is absolutely ludicrous, because last time I checked, a 97 is an A. A 97 is 3 points away from perfect. So I don't see how that is me giving her grief. But there are instances in the trial that I think she could have done better, but overall she did a phenomenal job. But there are still people out there that say that Darrell didn't get a fair trial. How did he not get a fair trial? He called 9 or so witnesses. He grilled witnesses. He grilled survivors. He grilled victims, people that actually saw him driving into them, and he was able to torment them. He was able to torment Erica Patterson. he was able to try to push Nicholas Kirby's buttons. You know, Nicholas Kirby has a lot of supporters on here. But I've seen some weird comments about Nicholas Kirby, like with like a bunch of periods and like weird emojis, and I don't know what that's all about. But again, he really didn't like Nicholas Kirby because Nicholas Kirby's a guy that was trying to defend Erica from him. So obviously he doesn't like Nicholas Kirby. He didn't like the runkle, the roommate that also protected him, and who I suppose was involved in the Norman Nix interview. Also don't know what happened with that because I thought it was a really good interview. I've watched it several times, and I've actually watched it again to see if there's any like kind of break or any kind of drama, and I didn't see anything there. I saw Norman being very nice to Erica, and I saw Erica being very nice and kind. So I don't know, like a lot of people say that I guess maybe they had a falling out. I don't know. Some other folks have said that Erica has her own YouTube channel. So if she does, I mean, I'm going to try to find it because I would like to interview Erica. I think she's a very nice woman. I think she's been through a lot. I'm surprised, to say the least, that she has a YouTube channel. But the reality of the matter is there's a great deal of interest in this, and there's a lot of interest in her life. This is a highly televised trial. And even when Darrell was presented with the option by Judge Doro to, and it wasn't by Judge Doro so much as it was Sue Opper, but to maybe obscure the identities of some of the survivors, some of the victims, so they could have some closure. Darrell said, well, this is a public trial. I mean, show everybody, just the lack of empathy by Brooks is something that I think has caused a lot of people to not be able to turn away from this trial. But here he is. Sue Opper this wasn't just one instance. I mean, she was outlining his entire prior record, and he's like looking up at the ceiling, rolling his eyes. He's just not, he doesn't care. He doesn't care, and he feels like his time is being wasted. He feels like he could be doing any number of other things. And even though he's guilty as sin, he just doesn't care. I mean, it is so hard to, I think for the families, it's so hard to get any kind of closure because, yeah, he's going to do time. Yeah, he's going to be in prison the rest of his life. But in his mind, he doesn't care, and it's almost like if you've ever seen some of these death row interviews, or you've seen some of these like A&E documentaries or National Geographic documentaries, there those folks that are on death row that are truly sorry, and you almost feel bad for them in a way because they might have committed a crime like 20, 30, 35 years ago. I'm serious. I mean, because sometimes the states have put moratoriums on the death penalty. Other times there might be a Supreme Court case that's put a hold on it. So you might have somebody there's a guy named Trevor something or other from the BBC, and he did a really good death row series from Indiana, which is just north of Louisville, Kentucky. And there were folks that were on death row for 25 plus years, and they were completely changed individuals. And you felt bad for them because, like the person that they're going to execute is a completely different person who committed the crime. But, they realize that, and they're sorry. And it while it makes you, I'm not a huge proponent of capital punishment, but I will tell you that I feel like that gives the family closure in a way. Not that the person is executed, but that the person is that remorseful and that disgusted with their previous self. But when you look at someone like Darrell Brooks Jr., that not only does not feel any kind of remorse, doesn't really have any real empathy, and furthermore, just doesn't care. I mean, to look up at the ceiling like that, to nod his head and to roll his eyes, we're talking about a very, very low level human being. And I feel that people just aren't accustomed to that. I mean, we've seen heels on television shows and wrestling, and, we've seen people try to act evil. We've seen people, I don't know. I would put Darrell Brooks Jr. up there with a Charles Manson, with a Gacy, with a Ramirez, with a Bundy. I would put him up there. I know some people would argue that those are serial killers and this guy's a spree killer, but sorry, I would put him there, And none of those guys were truly remorseful. I mean, at least they acted as if they were. If you watch the last Ted Bundy interview, or you watch well, no, actually, none of them. Bundy tried to seem like he was being remorseful, but he was actually playing. The last interview that he did was with a minister who, he was basically telling that minister what that minister wanted to hear. But he was just probably hoping for a last minute, a last minute appeal or a last minute, something. But he wasn't sorry. I mean, watch the Ted Bundy trial. His mom gets on the stand, and very much like when Don. But the difference is, though, is that when Don took the stand, Darrell actually welled up and cried. And so I think that was maybe the one time where maybe he had a conscience. But was he crying because of what he did to the victims, or was he crying because his mom was crying? See, like I said, I think more so the latter than the former. I really don't think he cared about the victims. I mean, he had people up there on the stand that were recollecting when their love of their lives was lost, and he didn't care. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, him looking up at the ceiling like that, as despicable and as spineless as it is, it's Darrell Brooks Jr. to a T.